Come, let us recite the Great Garuda in flight, and then savor effortless meditation. If you wish to recite with me, I encourage you to join me on the Tube app. The 26th passage reads, "Butchers, prostitutes, and those who have committed the 5 deadly sins, as well as those involved in perverted actions, are abandoned by the world. But the pious, the fully perfected ones, know that even these acts are not different from great bliss. Thus, they know all phenomena through the inherent nature of all phenomena. So this one is going to zig where it looks like it was going to zag. And this is an echo towards another text written on a different country, I think in the next century. It was known as the Song of Enlightenment by Yongjie Xuanjue. And he says basically the idea that even the greatest of moral downfalls are empty. So the ultimate purification is simply the highest meditation on emptiness, which is nothing more than simply relaxing in cooperation with our exhalation. So let's say we've done something questionable or wrong. Rather than lament in sackcloth and ash, rather than flagellate ourselves, which sounds far dirtier than it is, as we breathe in, we can sit with that guilt, that fear, that horror, that anger. And as we exhale, we can relax. That is all the purification that is required. As you've heard me mention several times, Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. In terms of meditation, think of it this way. 90% of Buddhists, 90% of meditation teachers are in harmony with institutional Buddhism. That which is rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. A mere 10% are in harmony with proto-Buddhism, which is flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. So, if you spent years reading and watching the Harry Potter books and movies, then you're familiar with Dolores Umbridge. It's tough to say her name without cussing, isn't it? She was pretty horrible. So Dolores Umbridge is a great example of institutional Buddhism or any form of fundamentalism. And if you're secular, you can find people who are gathering together in a secular manner, in a recreational manner, in a vocational manner, who are just Karens on parade, who are just delight in being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel with a cherry on top. Regardless of gender, it applies equally. Let me quickly say hi to these people. There we go. So these are the people who delight in pointing out others' flaws. Those who delight in rules and regulations have gathered literally hundreds of rules with various levels of punishment for infraction. In Proto-Buddhism, we do not worry about such nonsense. Proto-Buddhism is predicated simply upon the Eightfold Path, where there's no mention of karma. 50% of it, though, pertains to loving kindness. The only morality is simply be kind. Don't be a dick. Be considerate. Be loving. And the highest love is the spontaneous and uncontrived byproduct of authentic mindfulness and meditation. Having ridden that horse into the ground, I think it could be fun to repeat this passage a few more times. Butchers, prostitutes, and those who have committed the 5 deadly sins, as well as those involved in perverted actions or abandoned by the world. The pious, the fully perfected ones, know that even these acts are not different from great bliss. Thus, they know all phenomena through the inherent nature of all phenomena. They perceive, but they also let go. Having completed our opening lesson, we can now shift gears. It is Ahsoka Tano Thursday afternoon. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after about 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Semde Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation, so that I could become your personal nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this morning, take 2, for the remainder of this afternoon's live stream, let's perform the highest meditation, which is also the easiest meditation. Of course, when I say highest meditation, I don't mean in the Cheech and Chong sort of way. It's simple. As we feel our chest swell with breath, silently and mentally we can recite the verb watch. This is the most effortless way to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics. You see, we're not supposed to shove things away. We're not supposed to reach for things. We're supposed to explore whatever comes up, whether it is a perception, an emotion, a thought, a memory, an imagining, or an intention. Whether that which we perceive is external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. We're just supposed to check it out. What do we do with it once we've noticed it? We physically relax and mentally release in harmony with our exhalation. That's how we viscerally and non-conceptually experience emptiness. The easiest way to do that is to silently and mentally recite the verb rest as our chest gently and subtly sinks in upon itself as we exhale. Don't worry, you're not in this alone. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or philosophy, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. For I tend to check for questions about every 5 minutes, except for the last 5 minutes. So when you hear me wrapping up, it's too late to ask a question. I'm on a roll when I'm wrapping up, and so typically if someone asks me a question, then I don't have the time or the energy or the bandwidth to answer it. So ask the question, strike while the iron is hot. I live for this. Don't worry about it. Let's dig in. You might find it helpful to rest the great knuckle at the base of your right middle finger upon the tip of your left middle finger, palms up in your lap. You don't have to, but you might find it helpful. I can't remember if it was the late 90s or the early 2000s that the Coen brothers came out with The Big Lebowski. Our job is not to be like the Big Lebowski. The Big Lebowski. Our job is to be like the dude. Oh, I forgot something. Look at this. Okay. A younger individual than myself wrote, and they explained that there are times when they are really horny, and what should they do about it? You know, because I felt really guilty that it made them unspiritual. The answer was simple. They asked, should I just notice it and relax? And the answer is yes. Because whether we are feeling horny or whether we are feeling not horny, let me rephrase it. As we relax into our exhalation, horniness and not horniness seem to melt into the simplicity of just feelings. But now that's great. That's all very well and good for our contemplative lives. But as we go through life completely horned up, what are we to do? And the answer is simple. Act from love's centered spontaneity. The more time we spend practicing mindfulness and meditation, not only will we grow stronger in empathy, but our choices and utterances and deeds will flow from centered spontaneity, not from calculating contrivance, not from wild scatteredness, but from centered spontaneity. So if we use love as our guiding light and peace as our guiding light, we'll do okay. I'd like to pursue the subject a little deeper, if I may. So, World of Reg wrote, can you describe how to approach Shambhavi Mudra without straining? I'm striving to gaze at the brow point. I feel pulled in strain and raise my gaze as high as possible behind my eyelids. Okay, this is a very good question. Thank you for asking it. This question is rooted in Hindu metaphysics. I experimented with that path. I'm no longer on that path. On the Buddha's path, tensing doesn't work. Tensing is the path of concentration, which will excite our amygdala and make us more cranky and more cowardly. None of us need more of that. We've got that pretty sewn up. We're not out of stock anytime soon. So rather than arbitrarily focusing on a single point, or gazing at the earth, or gazing at the horizon, or gazing at the sky, give your body a chance to go with the flow. Your body might want to open your eyes wide. It might want to close your eyes gently. It might want to close them tight, super tight. You might want to hold them at half-mast. Let your body decide what it needs in the moment. Over the centuries, over the millennia, Buddha's teachings have been viewed through the lens of Indian shamanism and Tibetan shamanism and Chinese shamanism. And there ain't nothing wrong with shamanism, but it's important to occasionally set it aside and see if there's something that is more effective and easier. Therefore, I don't recommend performing the Shambhavi Mudra, although it's a pretty cool name and a winning answer in Scrabble. Use the Big Lebowski as your archetype. Be groovy, be laid back, and in a loving and centered manner, go with the flow. There's something I would like to explore. Some people are about love. Others are about fear. Some people are about egalitarianism. Others are about elitism. Some people are about being laid back. Some are about being controlling. Those who by their own admission are controlling and fearful and I forgot what the third one was. But they are all about finding fault. They're so good at finding fault that they can find it even when it's not there. Consider the first noble truth. There are stressors. There are circumstantial stressors, and physical stressors, and interpersonal stressors, and mental stressors. Our genes contain survival drives, which are great for the species, excellent for the species, but they don't make us peaceful. They don't make us happy. They just help the species to propitiate, and I respect that. So horniness is a primary survival drive. We have evolved to live long enough to reproduce. Biology only makes sense when seen through the lens of evolution. So when we are a horn dog, guess what? That's your body creating impulses that are in 100% alignment with instinct. They're not a condemnation. Some people are wired to being asexual or aromantic or both. That is neither good nor bad, it simply is. However, people who are elitist and controlling and rigid will arbitrarily select one thing and say, oh, see, that's the ideal. If you're not aromantic and asexual, then you're just a slathering fiend like the Tasmanian devil in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. And as amusing as that might be, that's incorrect. There are all types of sexualities. Heterosexuality, homosexuality, pansexuality, bisexuality, transsexuality, you name it, we got it. Welcome to Bob's Sexuality Emporium. So, not one variation of human sexuality is better or worse than another. And you might say, what about sexual predators? Well, sexual sadists, sexual predators aren't really hungry for sex. They're hungry for assault. And they're just using, instead of using a knife, they're using their penis. That's a different thing. That's a pathology. But it's not a sexual pathology. It's a dominance, aggression pathology. A pathology of being a predator rather than being... It's a pathology that turns one from a member of the herd to a predator, skirting the edges of the herd, looking for the elderly, the injured, the sick, and the young. But no, when it comes to human sexuality, the rule is simple. Move from love's centered spontaneity, and you'll be fine. There ain't no guilt like religious guilt. What do you do when you feel guilty? Ha ha! As you breathe in, watch the guilt, and as you breathe out, rest. Does that mean that guilt will just vanish? No. No, it doesn't. But it does mean you'll be able to cope with it in a less neurotic way, which is a good thing. So, if you, like me, are prone to arthritis, I encourage you to gently adjust your legs once every 15 minutes or so. Because as one of my teachers used to say, insist, there ain't no extra points for suffering. So to refer back to our previous question, India is a vast continent with an old culture, and there are many schools of metaphysics. And it's important to say, to make the distinction, that just because something doesn't speak to me in my path doesn't mean I'm denigrating it. Doesn't mean I'm pooping all over it. Just means, it's not my cup of tea. Few people can love each other and have different preferences. I know my partner prefers her beets roasted. I prefer my beets raw and shredded and thrown in a salad. And we can have different preferences without hating each other. Allow me to give you a personal example. You can tell by my big old nose that I'm no stranger to a bagel. Some people hate Jews, and you know what? They get to hate Jews all they want. That's fine, as long as they keep it to themselves. As long as they don't make it anybody else's problem, then what they do between their ears it's peachy, it's clean, it's fine. Let them. But what I've found is that the more we cooperate with our autonomic nervous system, the more we notice and rest, the more we watch and rest in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation, the harder and harder it is to hold a grudge, to hate, to fear. It just sort of washes off our back, like sweat after a hard day under a hot shower. Thank you, Gummy Bear. As you breathe in, silently and mentally recite the verb watch. As you breathe out, silently and mentally recite the verb rest. That is the key to effortless mindfulness and meditation. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 3¼ hours, I would very much like to return. Day's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.